Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Juliet and this is my channel Mama Tried. I'm going to be meal prepping 10 different freezer meals, and a lot of them are going to be crock pot meals because it is fall now, and so the weather is getting a little cooler, and I've just been craving those savory warm meals, and crock pot meals just do that for me. So I hope you enjoy. I don't know why you've started doing that, but it's funny. If you've watched my videos before, you probably already know what I'm making. Breakfast casserole. And I'm making a double batch. So I preheated my oven to 400 degrees and I am cooking up 2 pounds of maple sausage. Now I am adding 18 eggs. Yes, 18. And I didn't even get any shells in there, so I'm going to pat myself on the back. Now I don't measure anything and I make it a little different every time. So I'm just adding in some milk, stirring it up real good, and also stirring up my sausage because I don't want it to burn, you know? Adding in some onion powder and some Italian seasoning. And then I'm going to add in some Worcestershire sauce and some mustard. Just add however much that you think that you'll like. Just don't overdo it. And then I'm going to add a ton of spinach. I love spinach as a filler in recipes because you can't really taste it, but you get all of the nutrients. So add that spinach in there, girl. Now I'm just adding in some Mexican style shredded cheese that I got from Costco. I usually shred my own, but I had this left over. I know it seems like a lot, but it's really not in comparison to everything that I'm putting in here. Now I'm just adding all of the sausage and I'm going to mix it up really well. I also want to add, make sure that you let your sausage cool a little bit before you add it straight into the mixture. I know from what you can see it's steaming hot, but it's not hot enough to completely melt the cheese. So here I'm just spraying a muffin pan and I'm just going to be adding the mixture to that, as well as a mini muffin pan. And then I had some left over, so I just put it in like a bread pan, and then we had that for breakfast that morning. Then I just pop everything in the oven for about 30 minutes, give or take, depending on the size of muffins or casserole that you're making. If it's very thick, you'll obviously want longer time, and if it's smaller, you'll want shorter time. You know, every time I cook, I have to show off my baby eating because she's just so cute. Here comes a big tip for how I freeze everything. I flash freeze things like this before I actually put it in the freezer for good. And by that, I mean I put everything on a baking rack and I freeze it for about 20-ish minutes just so it becomes hard and it won't stick together in the container or the baggie that I'm putting it in to keep in the freezer. So do that. Don't skip it. And in the morning, I'm making waffles. But for real. So I'm melting some butter in the microwave. I am doing 3 times the recipe here. I will link all of the recipes down below if I got them from Pinterest. If they are my own, then I'll try to do my best to explain everything for you guys. I always do, and if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. So here I'm just adding the oats to the blender, salt, baking powder, and cinnamon, and then I'm just going to blend it until it is like a flour consistency, like that. And now I'll be adding the majority of the wet ingredients, which is water, eggs, For the sweetener, I added in blueberries. I really didn't want to add any sugar if I didn't have to, and I always top these with almond butter for Luxie, and she really likes it that way, so I felt like I didn't have to. Then after blending that for a little bit, I'm going to add in the butter, and then that's the final mixture, so blend that up really good. I am using the Dash Mini Waffle Maker, and I love it. I will link it for you in the description under my link tree, and if there's anything else in this video that you're interested in buying, it will probably be in there as well, and if not, let me know and I will find a link for you. If you are using this waffle maker, make sure to spread the mixture in there evenly because it's thick and it will not spread by itself. Now I'm making mini meatloaves. It sounds disgusting, but I promise it's good. I preheated the oven to 425 and now I'm just chopping up some baby carrots. This is what I had, so I didn't want to buy anything else. So don't make fun of me for chopping up my little carrots with my little knife. Now I am grating a zucchini into a cheesecloth. I'm just doing one zucchini, and then I'm going to use the cheesecloth to get out all of the excess liquid from the zucchini so nothing turns out soggy. So I'm just taking it over to the sink so I don't make a mess. So that's what it looks like all dried out. So I'm putting that in the carrots in a pan with some olive oil and just mixing them around until they get kind of soggy and not hard. Now I'm going to be making the meat mixture in a separate bowl with some ground turkey, and I am doubling this recipe as well. This one will be linked below for you. So now I'm adding in the vegetables and stirring it up just a little bit, and then I will be adding in my beaten eggs. I believe there were 2 of them in there. Adding in some panko, chicken broth, ketchup, and some seasonings, which will be garlic powder, parsley, and basil. I use a baking rack and I spray it generously because I do not want it to stick, but this drips a lot and I like to have something underneath it to catch all of the dripping so you don't, catch your house on fire. So I'm just using a scoop that I got on Amazon. I will link that in the link tree as well for you. And I'm topping it with some ketchup and sticking it in the oven. Here's a little behind the scenes of what happens when I get just a little bit of free time from cooking.
I love you. I'm going to dance.
I always wanted to make Luxie some homemade Uncrustables, but she's allergic to peanuts. I was originally just going to use almond butter, but whenever I was at the store, I found this peanut butter alternative called Wow Butter. I think it's disgusting, but Luxie seems to love it. So it's got more of a peanut butter consistency than almond butter, and it's a little bit less expensive, so I decided to give it a shot, and I'm glad that I did. So I'm just making these sandwiches, and then I'm going to use the top of a large mason jar to cut out little circles. They do make some different things on Amazon where you can really make Uncrustables at home, but I'm not fancy like that, and this works just fine. So I'm just using the top of a mason jar, and it works out perfectly. The mini meatloaves turned out amazing. Seriously, one of my favorites. And the waffles also finished around the same time. It made so many of them. They look so yummy. So I'm flash freezing both of those as well. And then look at those tiny pretend Uncrustables. They're so cute. Now I'm making Copycat Chick-Fil-A nuggets, so I am just getting these chicken tenders and taking off the nasty pieces of the chicken and cutting them into bite-sized pieces. and placing them in the pickle juice to marinate for about an hour and a half. The recipe calls for 6 to 8 hours, but you don't have to do that. They taste just fine after an hour and a half.
Are you sleepy?
I think that somebody needs my attention and needs a nap. So I am going to cuddle up with her, spend some time with her, take a little break, and put her down for a nap.
Bye-bye.
As you can see from the baby monitor, Luxie is sound asleep, so now we are going to finish up the chicken nuggets. I'm going to preheat my oven to 425, and I'll be making a egg mixture and then a bread mixture. So I'm just putting 2 eggs into one bowl, and then I'm going to use almond flour. I decided to add in the rest of the panko, which was a great choice because they tasted really good. They were extra crunchy this time. I added in some paprika and garlic powder and some salt and pepper. Now I'm just giving the bread mixture a good stir and then beating the eggs so that way they're nice and mixed together. Then I'm going to spray the baking rack with olive oil so that way the chicken nuggets don't stick. I love to use a baking rack because this way it cooks evenly and I don't have to turn them because there's so many of them. When I'm making these, I like to have one wet hand and one dry hand so that way it doesn't gunk up on my hands and I'm not wasting ingredients. But this looks like I'm doing it so graceful, but at the end I'm just throwing it all in there and trying to get it over with because it takes so long, but it is really worth it. They taste so good and they don't have any extra ingredients and they're very healthy. These always turn out so amazing and they only last a couple of days. They're that good. Now it's time for the crock pot recipes. These were so easy and I'm going to link all of the recipes in the description for you. They all came off of Pinterest. So I am just cooking up the ground beef that I'm going to be using for chili. To make this as easy as I possibly can, I go ahead and prepare all of the meat and bring out all of the ingredients and separate them into each crock pot meal that I will be doing. So first I'll be doing the chicken broccoli Alfredo. All of these are so simple. So I'm going to go ahead and just put the meat into all of the bags except for the ground beef. I'm going to let that cool for as long as I can before putting it in the bag. So continuing on with the chicken broccoli Alfredo, I'm just adding in the Alfredo sauce and you'll see that there's 2 bags that I'm working with and that's because this recipe makes 2 different meals. But for my family, one of these bags will make about 3 meals because it's really just for me and Luxie because my husband doesn't usually eat stuff like this. So it makes a total of 6 meals per recipe and I just think that's awesome because it makes so much food for us. Now I'm just dividing this bag of broccoli into the 2 bags and adding my Alfredo sauce into the second bag. I am usually not a fan of mushrooms at all. This recipe calls for mushrooms, so I really hope that I like it, but I'm just dividing this whole carton into both of the bags. When I zip these up, I try really hard to get all of the excess air out and lay them as flat as I possibly can so that way it saves space in the freezer. I hope you stick around to the end of the video because then I will be explaining how many meals exactly all of this food made for us. Moving on to the black bean and corn chicken. I already have the chicken in the bags and now I'm just adding 1 can of rinsed black beans into each bag and then I will be adding the corn into each bag. And then I will be splitting this taco seasoning mix into both of the bags. I'm pretty sure that the recipe called for like a cup of salsa for each bag, maybe, or maybe half a cup, but I love salsa, so I just split the whole container. And then I added some water in there as well. I was pretty skeptical about the chicken teriyaki, but it turned out amazing. So I'm just splitting a large bag of baby carrots between the two bags, and then I'm going to cut up a red onion into large chunks. Now I'm adding in some crushed pineapple. And of course, what would chicken teriyaki be without the teriyaki? And then I'm adding in some minced garlic. Moving on to the chili. So now the ground beef is finally cool, so I'm just splitting the mixture in half between the two bags. And chopping up an onion. Adding in the garlic. And adding tomato sauce and diced tomatoes. Now I'm adding in the kidney beans and the beef broth. And of course, all of the seasonings, lots and lots of seasonings. Here are the crock pot meals. Because it's just Luxie and I eating, this will be about 24 meals for us. One bag is about 3 meals, if not more, including everything else that I made. I made about a total of 70 meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Whew. I don't know if you just saw what kind of cooking just happened in that kitchen, but it could use some TLC. And Luxie just woke up from her nap. I'm so happy that I've got so many meals already made and I don't have to worry about food for a while, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And that is a great feeling. So I sacrificed one day to get so much time that I can spend with my family, and that's why I do it. It makes it so much easier and it saves me a lot of money. When I went to the grocery store, I spent $138, but I also got things for the house, so that wasn't just food. And then I have back stock too, so there are some things that I always have on hand that I buy whenever they're on sale, or I buy them in bulk, so that way I don't have to worry about things. If I'm missing a piece from a recipe, I can just go and grab it because it's in my back stock. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this, or what kind of videos that you want to see, because I want to be able to help you do the things that you want to do, and I want to make the videos that you want to see. So comment down below what you want to see next. I really hope that you liked today's video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more of my videos. And if you're not already, go ahead and follow me over on Instagram and TikTok. And I hope you have an awesome day. Bye.